A young mother decided to move on with her life after a failed relationship with her child's father, only for her life to be snatched away at the hands of the man she created life with. This is the story of Jasmine Marie Gonzalez. Jasmine Marie Gonzalez, also known as Envee, was born Sunday, June 20th, 1993, and she's from my home city, the Bronx, New York. Based on her social media account, I want to say she was specifically from Edenwald Projects, which is located in the uptown section of the Bronx, about a 15-minute drive from Mount Vernon, New York. But if she isn't from Edenwald and someone who knows her personally happens to come across this video, feel free to correct that in the comments. Nonetheless, she was a Bronx girly, and from what I could see, she was pretty popular. Based on her social media presence, she appeared to be a young woman who enjoyed life. She liked to have fun, hang with her family and friends, go out here and there, but the most important role she had in life that she was most proud of was being a mommy. Jasmine became a mother on November 12, 2012, when she gave birth to her baby boy with her boyfriend at the time, a young man named Kyrie Amir Borden. However, her and Kyrie's relationship was described as tumultuous. Kyrie was cheating on Jasmine and they were arguing a lot. So the relationship came to an end and they went their separate ways as co-parents. Now, according to ABC 7 News, Jasmine's sister, Giselle, revealed that Jasmine was dealing with obstacles in the realm of mental health. Giselle said that Jasmine was schizophrenic, she had bipolar disorder, and ADHD. Dealing with that, on top of the continuous, quote-unquote baby mama, baby daddy drama with Kyrie, you can imagine it was a lot for Jasmine to handle on a regular basis. Unfortunately, the arguing didn't stop between she and Kyrie, and allegedly, things got so bad at one point they got into a fight, and this resulted in Kyrie gaining custody of their son. Now, Kyrie was residing in a shelter in Brooklyn at the time of him gaining custody. I clearly don't know all the details to their family court dealings. Regardless, this didn't stop Jasmine from being in her son's life. She was still very much active with her son. She was still present in his life, taking care of him, spending time, and doing all the things that a mother would do despite him not living with her every day. Jasmine loved her son with her whole heart, and nothing was going to get in the way of her being in her child's life. Until the Independence Day weekend of 2015. It was Sunday morning, July 5th, 2015 at approximately 6 a.m. Kyrie Amir makes a 911 call and tells the dispatcher that he's found his son's mother's deceased body while walking a dog that belonged to Jasmine's family in Bronx River Park, about 5 blocks away from where Jasmine lived. But if you're familiar with the theme of slow criminals that do dumb things, then you would already know that this was bullshit and it didn't take long for police to find out the truth. You see, according to reports, it's alleged that Kyrie has spent the night over at 22-year-old Jasmine's home the night before on July 4th with their son. According to ABC 7 News, Giselle said during the early Sunday morning hours, Jasmine and Kyrie had gotten into an argument and didn't want to argue in front of the baby, so they took their dispute outside. However, he came back to the apartment without Jasmine at approximately 5 a.m., changed his clothes while everybody was in the apartment asleep, and then he woke up Jasmine's mother to ask for the dog's leash so he could take the dog outside for a walk. Now, clearly, police were suspicious about Kyrie because how are you outside at almost 6 a.m. walking a dog that belonged to your baby mother and her family, and then you suddenly find her body deceased 1 hour after y'all left the apartment during an argument? So police did their investigations, and this is when we learned that they went to Jasmine's apartment and they found a backpack behind some curtains in the living room that belonged to Kyrie. In the backpack was a bloody set of clothes, which is how we know he changed into some clean clothes before asking for the dog leash. They found an empty sheath that was once holding a set of kitchen knives and a bloody towel. Now, Jasmine had been found deceased in the park with multiple stab wounds to her torso. So clearly, they already knew that her own child's father was the one that took her life and left her body in the park like she was worth nothing. Investigators worked quickly because later that evening, 25-year-old Kyrie Amir Borden was arrested and charged with homicide, manslaughter, and criminal possession of a weapon. Reportedly, this isn't even his first time in his life where he felt comfortable violating a woman. In 2010, he was arrested for slapping a pregnant woman in the face, and not long after that, he was arrested for robbing a 17-year-old little girl. According to Pix 11 News, a relative of the family said they never saw this coming. Apparently, they said they were aware that the two had their problems, but never thought that Carrie would ever consider hurting Jasmine to this extent. They described Carrie to behave in a respectable manner whenever he was around Jasmine's family. And speaking of her family, they did go over to the scene at the park where Jasmine's body was located. And her mother broke down as soon as she realized it was her daughter laying out there lifeless. She also pointed out a fitted cat that was in the area and was able to identify it as belonging to Carrie and began calling him a devil. Jasmine's aunt, Barbara Lopez, described Carrie as quiet, but she said he was too quiet, like suspiciously quiet to the point she didn't trust him. She said, quote, "I have no doubt it was him. I never trusted that boy. And now look what happened," end quote. During a court appearance where supporters for both sides showed up, mayhem erupted. It was reported by the Daily News that someone from Jasmine's side shouted at the group on Carrie's side, quote, "Suck my dick," end quote, which began a shouting match between both sides, resulting in people having to be removed from the courtroom. Of course, it was an emotional day on both ends, and me personally, if I had been a loved one of Carrie's, I would have remained so humble, and whether it had been accepted or not, I would have been so apologetic to Jasmine's family. I don't see how it could be any other way when your loved one literally took a mother away from their child. Anyway, Carrie was described to have held his head down as the prosecutor, Joshua Gradinger, revealed that the grand jury indicted him on homicide and manslaughter charges. Carrie pled not guilty, but he was found guilty, and thankfully to this day, he is still incarcerated. His earliest release date is August of 2032, and he'll be eligible for a parole interview in June of 2032. You know, what's crazy is, while I was looking at Jasmine's social media to gauge what her personality was like, it was so eerie to see her post about picking up her son from his father the day before he took her life. And not only that, according to ABC 7 News, Jasmine's sister Giselle said when Jasmine moved on to a new young man who, from what I can see on Jasmine's Facebook page, he went by the name Dula, it made Carrie jealous. He couldn't stand that she was dealing with another young man. And speaking of Jasmine moving on, remember I mentioned earlier how Carrie was cheating on her and stuff? Well, she had made this post on July 2nd, 2015 that read, quote, "Ninja's dad be having that one girl who remains loyal and holds him down through the good and the bad, the right from the wrong, and he's still unappreciative. Can't seem to be on time for shit, barely calls or texts, etc., and then be mad when she finally gives up and allows another ninja to have what he didn't appreciate and do what he wasn't doing. Hashtag ninjas is crazy. Hashtag ninjas kill me," end quote. And so this speaks exactly to what Giselle said about Jasmine moving on and Carrie being displeased about it. But what haunted me was her last hashtag. Hashtag ninjas kill me, because it's sick how that's exactly what ended up happening. I see it as he shouldn't even be allowed to walk the free world again. When Carrie packed his bag with the knife he used to take Jasmine's life before even heading over to Jasmine's apartment with their son, he knew he was ready to take his child's mother's life that weekend. He went there with the intentions of making his son a motherless child. He had no regards on how that would affect his son as he grows up and maneuvers this world without the love of his mother. And that's no slight to the women in Jasmine's family, because I know they're going to love on that little boy and keep his mother's name alive for the rest of their lives. However, I think we all can agree, there's no love like a mother's love. Carrie already had a past with violating women, and now he gets to roam the world at just 42 years old, still with lots of life to live, while Jasmine can only be here in spirit. Who's to say he won't violate another woman out here again? Who's to say he won't take another woman's life just because they got into an argument, And can people change? Sure. I also know people can be creatures of habit. I also know that some people just got that evil in them that just doesn't go away. I also know when Carrie took Jasmine's life, he meant that shit. Her son is now 11 years old. He was only 2.5 when her life was taken. It's a huge blessing that Jasmine's family is keeping her name and memory alive, allowing her son to know who she was and how much she loved him even after death. I pray that he is able to grow up in healing energy, being that both of his parents are gone during the developmental years of his life. I pray for healing for Jasmine's family as each year passes without her. Rest in peace, Jasmine Marie Gonzalez. Even after all these years, you're still a big deal. You'll never be forgotten.